Hi guys, this is Tina back in for another video. This video is a slight deviation from what I normally talk about. Usually it is more of a story about a family or something like that, or like the Mostly Harmless story. If you check the library, there's some pretty good stories there, so if you want to, just check them out. If you decided to click on this page, I really do appreciate it. I hope you enjoy the content and or like subscribe, whatever, or just watch, whatever you want to do. It's totally up to you. So the reason that I am going to tell the story is it just had come to my mind today. It was a story that I heard a couple years ago, and I remember I saw a documentary about it. It was about a guy. His name is Daniel Lee Lopez, and this happened in the state of Texas. So Daniel Lee Lopez was 27 years old. It does show that he did have a record of some types of assaults. And then also, there was an article that said something about when he was 20, he was with someone that was 15, and mm, that put him as a sex offender. I'm not really 100% sure about all that. If that is true, it seemed like that particular article that said that they kind of painted it in a way that made him look like he was like this total piece of crap. Well, you know, what happened is bad. Okay, so, but I'm not sure about all the rest. So I'm not trying to sit here and say I'm on the side of this person. So this person, Daniel Lee Lopez, was in 2009. He was out driving at night and he ran a stop sign and he was going 60 miles an hour, and I believe it was in the 40. Supposedly had drugs in his car, and so he was apparently in the video that I saw that he had said that he was trying to get to his mom's house. I don't know how much of that is true or not. So Daniel Lee Lopez was on the freeway, and what the police were attempting to do is an officer, specifically by the name of Stuart Alexander, went to throw the stop stick, that will flatten the tires or whatever, out. And when the officer did that, Daniel supposedly moved towards or swerved towards. I don't know if it was intentional or unintentional. I really don't know. For the people that were there could probably give you a better idea of whether or not it was intentional. Obviously, he was sentenced to death row. He was put to death in 2015. So the interesting part about this is that the whole case, the whole entire incident happened in 2009, and he was convicted in 2010, and he was put to death in 2015. And the reason why he was put to death in 2015 is because he never once filed for an appeal. He never wanted to appeal his or say that he was innocent or try to do anything to escape the death penalty. If anything, he wanted the death penalty. And so he had a lawyer that supposedly wanted to argue that he was mentally incompetent and that he was using the death penalty as a form of suicide. So it was just very interesting story that had just come to my mind. I felt kind of captivated to myself when I had saw the documentary. As I said, this was a couple of years ago documentary, but it was pretty interesting to see him and his life. And then I guess while he was in prison, he had another. So I think he has a total of 5 or 6 kids, and he had a child. What I found extremely interesting about it too is that on the day that they did do the execution, and the execution that did go through in 2015, in August of 2015, um, he he just all he did was when they put him up, and they let him talk to the people before, he was going to be hit with the drugs to kill him. He just said that he was sorry, and supposedly in the video said that he looked at the wife of Stuart Alexander and told her that he was sorry. So I just thought that that was pretty interesting. I mean, to have a person um, that actually takes part or takes responsibility for their actions and understands that they have to pay for their actions. I think that's what the death penalty is supposed to do. The death penalty is not supposed to be for people to sit on death row for 20 or 25 years without, that's why it's not a deterrent. This is just my opinion, okay? So you can leave all your comments down below, whatever, good or bad. But the death penalty is said not to be a deterrent of crime. But I think that the reason why it's not a deterrent of crime is because we don't actually execute them for a long time. The victims die the day or way before the trial even happens. Those people have already lost their lives, but yet we still have people like some of the other cases that I've talked about that are still sitting there on death row and and just have appeal after appeal after appeal. It's just a waste of money and time, and they don't deserve that time. They took that time away from others. I do think that I would be more on the officer side here, just because this man was convicted by a jury of his peers, and sentenced to death. It is said that when the death did occur, while they were taking care of the execution, that there were the protesters out there, which there usually are protesters during any time that the execution is being carried out. There was a group of bikers that would drown out with the motorcycle sound, to make sure that the protesters wouldn't be heard at the time of death, that at the time that Daniel did die. I just thought it was a really interesting case. I don't know why I feel like a sense of empathy towards both to all involved. I mean, gosh, like the officer, he was just going out there to put the sticks out there, and boom, his life is gone. That's the biggest thing. And Daniel was in the commission of a felony, so obviously that's what led to the death penalty, likely, whether it was an intentional or not. In Texas, you don't mess around in Texas, because they will put you up. They will execute you, and they'll lock you up and throw away. I only had 5 years to live in 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 the prison, which is 5 years longer than the officer had to have in his life. It was a 47-year-old officer, Stuart Alexander. So he's the one who really should have the praise here. But at the same time, I find that Daniel at least owned up to what he did, and did not sit there and try to fight the system like a lot of the death row inmates that are in there now do. I remember seeing another documentary where a woman was taken back by a man who was on death row, and then she was trying to get him on a new trial or whatever, and then she saw the side of him that yeah, she was in danger and she didn't even know it. So, you know, obviously sentenced to death by a jury of his peers. I believe in that. I am just a little taken back by the fact that we actually had a person here that did own up to what he did. He did say he was sorry. That does not make it any better. That woman will never have her husband back. Stuart Alexander will never get his life back. Um, I just thought the accountability was pretty good, and if people took more accountability for what they do, then the death penalty likely would be a deterrent rather than not being a deterrent. It's not a deterrent now because when someone's sentenced to death, they end up staying alive for another 20 years. So to me, it's just a little annoying. Our system is a little annoying when it comes to that. I know there's a lot of people, naysayers on the death penalty because of, taking a life, from anyone is still taking a life. Murder is murder regardless. I don't know what to tell you about that. Sometimes their crimes are just too heinous. I don't. I'm not sitting here trying to be sympathetic towards that. I'm just saying that if since there's so much research out there that suggests that the death penalty is not a deterrent. The reason why it's likely not a deterrent here in America is because it's never followed through. They get another 20 years to live. Their victims didn't get to live another 20 years, so why should they? And at least we have one person here that I know as of now, as of my knowledge. That doesn't mean that's in the world or whatever, that actually took accountability for what he did. And he was put to death relatively fast for our system. Well, Texas's system, so every state, every state a little different, unless it's a federal crime. Okay, anyway, I just thought it was an interesting story. I will go ahead and leave the links down below. I really would love to hear anything that you have to say, whether it's good or bad, or you don't like the death penalty, you don't care for whatever I've had to say, whatever it is. I'm fine with it. I appreciate the views, the likes. If you subscribe, great. If you don't, that's fine too. You can watch my videos, and I'm happy that you're even doing that. So I really do appreciate that you've given me any of your time, and I hope to see you soon again in the next video. Until then, take care of yourselves, okay?